All right, y'all. So the goal is, just to do a year of semen retention and to read at least one book a month. So that'll be 12 books for the year. And I've been, I've done the 1 year. I've done that. I've done that. Not the reading, not the reading. I've been averaging probably one every 2 months, right? Yeah, standards books. Yeah, I'd say the last 6 months I've probably read 2 books a month, right? Which is still an improvement from, the goal is one a month, but life, no excuses, no excuses. I've been doing about one every 2 months. The 1 year of semen retention achieved last month. So February uh, till where we in March. Today's March 6th, March 7th, March 7th. So it's been 1 year, and we're going into you know month 13. So we got the 12 out of the 12-month mark. We're in month 13, and we're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going. The goal now. What I want to say real quick is though. Some of the books that I've read I got one of them here. That's the God Design. We got this here, right? Semen retention, and I got a couple other books, but I don't feel like getting up to go get them. But yeah, so just want to say the purpose of it is not vain. It's not you don't want to have your motive got to be right. Your motive has to be correct. If the number one purpose of it must be, and this is my opinion, to get you closer to God. That's the number one. That has to be the foundation of why you start SR. It has to be to get you closer to God, to bring you into a more intimate, deeper, closer proximity, just a much more transparent relationship with you and God, right? You have to be able to see with the inner eyes, the eyes of the inner man. So that's the number one. That should be your number one goal. That should be your number one motive. Now I see a lot of videos and I hear a lot of guys, guys talking about it, and to kudos to every man, young man out here who's retaining the seed. I would never. There's nothing negative to say about that. However, again, my advice would be that it's not done for anything other than to draw you closer to your God, draw you, lift up the seed, the serpent that is within you. Serpents get a bad name, right? A lot of people think because of caricature cartoons, and throughout the years we always people are snakes, and people, but snakes are not biblically. Snakes are not necessarily bad, because Moses was told to lift up the snake. But I know we get it from the Garden of Eden. The snake tempted Eve, and here we are. So I get where the negative connotations come from. But a lot of people have to understand this: the snake is an algorithm, not an algorithm. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I haven't finished my cup of coffee yet. Wrong word. Allegory. It's an allegory, and an allegory is using something concrete to illustrate something spiritual, right? So it's metaphoric. It's parabolic. It's a parable. They're all related. It's an allegory. You're using some kind of image, a concrete image, a picture, to illustrate a deeper meaning. So it has a esoteric aspect, hidden aspect. So the serpent is not a literal snake. The serpent is your sexual energy. It's a sexual energy, and it's a very subtle. That's why the Bible says that the serpent was the most subtle of all, the most subtle, because the sexual energy is very subtle, very subtle. What I mean by that is, how many brothers out here could relate, right? I just want to be her friend, right? I'm just going to be her friend. Use the friend approach, or you use the money approach, right? When you say, okay, I'm gonna buy this car, I'm gonna, work out, exercise. I'm gonna do all this stuff. I'm gonna make more money. And you see how subtle that is, right? Because you're saying you want to make more money. You're saying you want to get this car. It all leads to sex, right? And if we're gonna be honest, that's why men do what we do. Why you want this body? You don't want to look good and have a nice body for another guy, right? Unless you're into that thing. But you get my point. You don't want to make more money for just for the sake of making more money. You want to make more money because you can wear nice clothes and you can take her to the nice restaurants and then ultimately get her in bed. So everything comes back to the sexual energy, right? We live in these big houses. We want the biggest house, want the best job, corner office, all these things. It all leads back to sex when it's all said and done. Because it's the most subtle creature God created. The sexual energy is the most subtle. And subtle just means that it's so fine and defined and so fine-tuned that it's not easily discernible. It's so delicate that it's not easily discernible. Right? You can't see it. That's what subtle means. It is so delicate, so tender, so fine, and so minute. Perfect word. It's so small and minute that you can't see it. So most of the times, if you're on, some of the guys I've seen the videos, the semen retention will make her want you, right? It'll draw a woman to you, and it will. Because your testosterone levels are going to be higher. Hence, you're going to emanate more pheromones, which are sexual hormones. And pheromones, like in the animal kingdom, it's a signal. It's a transmitter, neurotransmitter to the females, the opposite sex. It also, you develop more calcite crystals in your pineal gland, right, in the brain. So you're going to develop more calcite crystals. Calcite crystals are heavily found in birds, because they have a magnetic aspect to them, component, and that's why birds know how to fly south, right? No matter if there's a storm, no matter if they can't see, they just innately know how to fly south because the calcite magnetite crystals in their brain is drawn by the Earth's magnetic core. So they will always know how to go south because it's a magnetic attraction. And we human beings they found that we have calcite crystals. So when you practice semen retention, you slow down what's called aromatase, aromatase. You can look that up. Aromatase is where you're once you hit 30, I believe early to mid 30s, your body starts to convert testosterone into estrogen. So you start to lose some of your masculine energy, and it's organic, it's natural, it's just a part of the cycle of life. So so SR actually increase your testosterone by 30 to 40%. They found in terms of an increase, 30 to 40% of an increase, which that increase in testosterone is going to increase your pheromones and your magnetic energy. So naturally, the masculine will always draw the feminine. That's just physics, science. So that's true. That's true. But then again, like I said, this is why you got to make sure your motive is pure, because the purpose of it is not to draw females to you. It's not to get women. You know what I'm saying? You can't. And if that's your end game, if that's your goal, you're going to fail. And you're going to fail miserably. Trust me. You will fail terribly. And you will ruin your life. Believe me when I tell you that. You will ruin your life. And this is why the serpent can be good or bad. This is why most often the serpent is given a bad connotation. Because the serpent is not good or bad. The serpent is neither good or bad. It just is. It's what you do with the serpent. That determines whether it's good or bad. It's your usage of the serpent, not the serpent itself. And again, a serpent is a sexual energy. And the tree that we see in the garden, the tree is your spinal cord. It's your spinal cord. That's the tree. The tree is the tree of life is your spinal cord. The tree of the knowledge of good or evil is that same spinal cord with you now using it. How do you use it? Right? How do you use that tree? I mean, if you were expelling the tree of the knowledge of good and evil is the sexual energy. Excuse me. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil is the tree of life is the spinal cord. The knowledge of good and evil is the fluid, which is the sexual energy that flows up and down that spinal cord, right? Because you can reabsorb the semen, you can reabsorb it, which is the semen is the physical, the anatomical aspect of the spiritual energy, which is the sexual energy. You can reabsorb it by semen retention and allow it to decalcify the pineal gland, activate the pituitary, activate the billions of neurons, the 90% of neurons that's inactive, laying dormant in the cerebrum, in the gray matter, of your brain. There's trillions of, not trillions, billions of neurons that's not activated. They're dormant. Reabsorption of the serpent, which is the sexual energy, can activate those and create what's called DMT, dimethyltryptamine, which is an upgraded version of your melatonin and serotonin. You ever seen the movie Limitless? I'm sure if you're watching this, you've seen the movie Limitless. The guy takes, Bradley Cooper, I believe that's who the movie star was, and he takes what's called NZT, right? NZT, and it activates all his brains, and the guy's like becomes a genius, right? And he could do everything, practically, right? Well, that's a spoof. It's a caricature, or I wouldn't even say a caricature because they're not really making fun of it, but it's not a spoof. It's an illustration, right? The movie illustrates what happens organically in your body. But he took the NZT, which is a drug, right? But your brain naturally creates NZT, but it's not called NZT. It's called DMT. You see, it's a play off of NZT is a play off or a play on DMT. And the same way everything in that movie shows you is exactly what happens when you're on semen retention. When you retain the seed and you reabsorb the serpent, which is the seed, the sexual energy, you reabsorb that and you let it flow up into the brain by means of just a lunar cycle. Every 29 and a half days, there's the moon plays a role in all of this too. When the moon enters your earth sign, all that stuff. New moons, when there's a new moon and the energy of the moon is is a gravitational pull, so it pulls us closer in terms of our 70% liquid in our body. But that's neither here nor there. But the point is, you have to make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. And when you're doing it for the right reason, you're on the right path, your foundation is sure. Jesus says that all things will be added to you, right? Seek ye the kingdom of God first and his righteousness. So you're seeking the kingdom of God, which Jesus also told you is within you. And you're seeking his righteousness, not your own. If you're seeking your own righteousness, then again, that the motive have to be corrected. You have to check your motives. You're seeking his righteousness, then all things will be added on to you. So the woman that you're supposed to go through life with, because I believe in soulmates. I believe that for your journey, there is a particular person for your journey. Everyone else who's not that particular person is just a distraction, a deviation from your journey, from your true potential, and a deviation. That's it. They're there to deter you from fulfilling, from the full expression and the full expression of all your genes, right? All your genetics makeup, right? We only use 4% of DNA, so 96% is inactive. You use 10% of your brain cells, so that means 90% is inactive. That's why the DMT, like in the movie Limitless, that's what the DMT does. It activates another 90%, or instead of the whole 90%, it'll activate from 10%, which is what you're using. It'll bring you to 20%. So now you're only 70% dormancy, and then you can keep increasing, right, by retaining. But retention alone won't do this. You have to make sure, because it's not that people think it's just sex that prevents the serpent from raising up, right? And remember, the serpent is not a bad thing. Again, it depends how you use it, right? Remember, in the Garden of Eden, which is an allegory, so the serpent is presented as a bad thing, right? Because it caused man to fall. But if you you continue forward, when Moses is told to lift up the serpent, and all the people who look on the serpent will be healed, there the serpent is presented in a positive light, as a healing element. The serpent is a healing substance. Moses is told to raise the serpent, lift up the serpent, right? And it's an allegory, and all who looks on the serpent will be healed. Well, in this case, that what that means, what the allegorical interpretation of that is, or the physiological interpretation, the physiological and anatomical in your body is that serpent, which is the sexual energy, which lays at the root chakra, the base of your spine. When you raise that up by reabsorption, not expelling, not spilling, you're actually raising it up. And when you raise it up, it heals those dormant and inactive brain cells. It activates those brain cells. And it gives you what's called, again, an upgraded version of melatonin and serotonin. Is called DMT, dimethyltryptamine. And DMT is interesting because DMT, like I said in the movie, gave the movie actor gave him all kind of access to visions and inspirations and opportunities. He was able to see everything that no one else can see. That's what happens to you and I, right? It will allow. DMT is it's a psychedelic. It's the only organic psychedelic produced organically in the body. It's called an endogenous what is it? What's the word? Hallucinogen. It's an endogenous hallucinogen. What that means is you have exogenous. Exogenous means it's created in a lab. It's outside. NZT would be exogenous. NZT would be an exogenous hallucinogenic because it's man-made. And you're taking it in the form of a pill. Endogenous means it's organically, naturally produced within your brain, which is the best way to go. It's not processed. There's no chemicals. There's no mixture. It's all natural. But you have to understand, to activate this also, you have to incorporate and ingratiate and integrate a healthy lifestyle. So it's not just, okay, I'm on semen retention, so I'm not masturbating, I'm not watching pornography, I'm not chasing skirts, which is all wonderful, all great. Right? And people try to cheat the system, right? They're talking about, oh, you can have sex, but don't release. Dude, I don't want to know. I don't want to talk about that. I have no idea what they mean by that. I've heard people making videos that you can practice. If you have a partner, you can have sex, but don't release. Look, you can't cheat the system. I'm sorry. You just can't beat the system. I don't know anything about that. You know, this edging. I see these videos, people talking about edging and all that. I have no idea how none of that stuff works. I don't want to know how that stuff works. I believe in what the ancients and the Buddhists, and you look at the Chinese and the Chinese monks, and they when they talk about semen retention, they go monk mode. And I love theirs is very simple. It's barbaric, right? It's just, look, just don't do it. You don't do nothing, right? All this other, you could do this, but don't do this, do that, do that. You're complicating it. It's very simple. You're either in or you're out. It's that simple, right? It's binary. On or off, right? So, fellas, if you're out there and people are telling you no, just you can't do anything. There's no cheating the system. No trying to have your cake and eat it too. 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You can't play both sides. So healthy lifestyle, right? You have to make sure. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not a health nut. I do eat my salads, my kale, my greens. I drink my green juice but I'm a coffee addict, right? I got a cup right here. You know what I'm saying? I'm a coffee addict. I still can't give up my caffeine, right? And I know that's not necessarily beneficial to my goals, but we all have our vices, I'm still struggling with some, but that's one of my vices that I've been drinking coffee for 15, 20 years now. I can't stop. I love it. I'm one of those guys that believe if I don't drink a cup of coffee, my morning sucks. And that's not healthy. But again, like I said, I'm a work in progress. So excluding the coffee, you have to make sure you live in a healthy lifestyle. So you can't be partying, you can't be out here drinking. Oh, alcohol is a no-no. That is a deterrent. That kills the whole process, right? Any kind of drugs, any kind of smoking, any kind of cigarettes, you have to live a lifestyle that's conducive with the decalcifying of the pineal gland, the whole process of DMT being secreted and increased in your brain. Cigarette smoking, like I said, party and hanging out, even gossiping. You know what I mean? Listening, what you listening to, what you watching. It's a process like this. It's a comprehensive package. It comes with a comprehensive package. But the most important thing, though, is retaining from sexual pleasures, and that is a foundation. Everything else is kind of secondary and third and fourth, but they all work together. And for those of us who relapse, don't beat yourself up. My first month, I was jerking off every 5 minutes. I mean, it was bad, right? I was watching pornography. Pornography that probably was the toughest thing to get rid of. I'm not gonna lie, because pornography is so destructive and so addictive to the brain because of the chemicals that allows your brain to trigger, the dopamine and all of that stuff. Pornography is it's very destructive for the brain too. Pornography is disgusting. It's terrible. You hear me? I was addicted to it for a while. When I first started, it was tough, right? I went through a divorce. After the divorce, oh my gosh, it was like, I had to jerk off every day, You know what I'm saying? It was just because you're going through that pain and all that betrayal and all the hurt and everything, right? And you're used to having sex. Let's be honest. You're married, you live with your wife, your kid, whatever the case is. So sex is a norm. Then all of a sudden, it stops, right? It's like in the movie Ray when Jamie Foxx is going through withdrawal and he has to go cold turkey from taking the heroin or whatever the drug was, and you see him, he's just shivering, shaking and shivering. It's similar to that. Right. And so pornography was something where I was like, man, I couldn't stop watching it for a while. And the danger of pornography is the more you watch it, the more you get sucked in, the more you get pulled in. And there's so many freaking videos out there, right? Which puts you in a loop. It's in a feedback loop. The more you watch, the more you want to see it. The more you see it, the more you watch. The more you watch, the more you want to engage. The more you engage, the more you want to watch. And there's a loop. That's called a feedback loop. So you're constantly being recycled. It's like you're recycling yourself and deeper into the rabbit hole, and it destroys you. There is no benefit from watching pornography. It completely destroys your brain. It numbs your pineal gland. It calcifies your pituitary. There's no upside. Zero upside. And unfortunately, we're in a society where they will tell you it's totally normal. Like, you know what I mean? It's encouraged in some cases. I remember when I was trying to have a baby with a lady I was with, and we were, she was a little older and was really having a hard time trying to get pregnant. And ultimately, that relationship failed. But I remember when we used to go to the doctors, I had to masturbate because we was trying to do artificial insemination or whatever. And they would give you pornography. You'd watch pornography, like that's in the doctor's office. You go in the bathroom, they give you a video to watch, and so it's and again that's an exception. I get that, but it just goes to show you though, still ingrained in our culture, pornography is such a norm. It's such a norm. You click on any porn site. I mean, like I said, there's just like you have overindulgence, right, of access to pornography. And then you have soft porn, which is, again, overabundant, right? You go outside and you see all the billboards. You see it everywhere, on the train, everywhere you go. There's sex. So we're in a society that is so over-sexualized that your endurance is almost non-existent in some cases, right? Because how can you fight something where you're just constantly being bombarded with it, right? So you become products of that environment. So it takes a lot of willpower, but more important than willpower, it takes the spirit of discernment. Because you have to have that spirit of discernment to understand what you're seeing and what it's doing to you, and most people don't have that discernment of what is actually happening. So you just become that, right? You're conditioned and programmed to that, and it's normalized. So, like I said, again, I'm clean. You know what I'm saying? I went through my 12-step rehab, self-rehab, and again, for me, like I said, it's been one full 13 months, zero pornography, zero masturbation, zero sex, no kind of nothing, just completely cold turkey. And it's like I said, the first couple of months was very difficult, very, very difficult. So for those of you who relapse, that's what I was talking to. Those of you who relapse, don't get discouraged, right? I think there was a song that said, pick yourself up and try again. I forgot who that song was by years ago. I think it was Aaliyah or somebody. If first you don't succeed, right, whatever. Don't get discouraged. Understand that it's a lifestyle. It must be a lifestyle. It's not. Another thing I'll tell people, don't count your days. Although I just told you I'm on 13 months, right? Yeah, every now and then it's good to track yourself, but don't count your days. I don't count my days. What I did was when I started, I wrote down the month I start. And then, okay, maybe 4 or 5 months, I say, all right, I'm at 5 months, I'm at 6 months. But don't count your days. Look at your start date, write down your start date, because you don't want to have that. That's important. And then go on about your life like nothing, right? Distract yourself, stay busy, I wrote 4 books. I got 4 books that I've written and published. I'm heavily active in my church, right? I teach. I'm always raising my daughter. I'm always with my little daughter, always doing something with her. I'm always in my office. I'm at work 12 hours every day, all day, practically. I'm in the gym a lot. Well, I got an injury, so I'm not, ran the marathon. That's another thing. I was able to run the New York City Marathon, right? So, I do a lot of running, avid runner, but got to sustain a little bit of injury in my lower back. So I kind of have to slow that down, but I'm still in the gym, taking it slow, but still exercising. So you have to exercise. You have to, you have to distract yourself, and you have to keep yourself busy. And here's very vital. Remember, I told you the serpent's the subtlest of all creatures. Get rid of that female friend. And when I say get rid of the female friend, you might not have one. I'm talking about in your mind. Don't be thinking you can have friends, female friends. You can just be cool with them. Get rid of that. And when I say get rid of that, I'm talking about like in intimate space. I'm not saying you can't talk to somebody every now and then on the phone or whatever, but do not put yourself in predicaments where you're like, okay, I got this, I'm strong. No, you're not. No, you're not. I've had women try to tell me, oh, the temptation. And I remember I used to tell them, like, listen, I've told one not recently, but probably a few months ago, listen, Superman in front of kryptonite is weak. No matter how strong he is, leap over buildings, you put some kryptonite in front of him, he melts. Kryptonite would be her. Every man, always know in your mind, your kryptonite is the vagina. Facts. That's just facts. Go look at history. Great men destroyed because of the vagina. So do not put yourself in any proximity or closeness. Again, there's women who come at me and whatever, and they know, some of them know them at, and that makes them want to try to break you. Now you're a conquest in their mind. I can break him. Then they don't even like you. They don't even want you. You're just a challenge now for them. And that's just a sick world we live in, right? So what I do is I just, because I'm in a church and I speak in church. And what do you think is going to happen when you're in church talking? Women are going to be attracted. This is life. It has nothing to do with anything else other than that's just, nature, female nature. But what I do is I make sure I say to myself, and I tell them, as long as I don't put myself in any close quarters or private space with you, I'm fine. Because again, Superman was only weak when kryptonite was close. So my thing is, you have to make sure that you don't put yourself, like, I'm in church, that's a public domain. I could be in there with a million women, I'm fine. Because it's a public domain, right? But I would never say, okay, let's go hang out at my place. Or I'm going to come hang out at your place. Or we're going to go somewhere private. I would never do that. I would never do that because, somebody back's going to get broke. You dig? Don't make no mistake about it. That energy is still there, right? I'm throwing you in the figure 4 leg lock, you know what I'm saying? A cobra clutch. You know what I'm saying? Somebody wig going to fly off. You know what I mean? Somebody going to get they weave, they wig, going to get tossed. So I'm not stupid, right? I'm not going to, just because I'm here trying to, get close to God, don't think that the animal won't, that animal will come out. So you got to make sure you don't put yourself in that predicament. Don't put yourself in that predicament. And as long as you stay clear of putting yourself in a particular environment, you will win, hands down. But if you put yourself in the environment, again, the serpent's the most subtle. Don't think like, okay, I could do this. I'm strong. I got this. Ain't nothing gonna happen. I got control. All the control in the world. That feminine energy get a hold on you, and that serpent start to go down instead of up, because of reabsorption, you're bringing them up. He starts going down into that lower Egypt. The lower portion of your body is considered lower Egypt, because that's where Pharaoh kept the children of Israel in bondage. That lower Egypt get a hold of you. That Pharaoh inside of you get a hold of you. You're finished, done. You have no shot, no chance. Then after that, the guilt trip. You're gonna feel like crap. Who the hell knows what you're going to do? But you're going to spiral out of control because you're trying to do something and you broke it, and you're going to feel like trash, right? And again, who knows what it'll lead to after that? God forbid she gets pregnant. Now you're on child support, right? So what I'm saying is stay out of any close areas with any female opposite attraction, opposite sex, female feminine energy. Don't do it to yourself, brothers. I'm at the 29. That's a damn half hour. All right, that's it. Peace.